Hello guys, Lady Loser again, and today we're going to react to a channel that I used to binge watch almost daily. A couple months ago, I guess, when I was, I don't remember anymore if it was still when I was jobless or if it was like shortly after I found my next job. But yeah, if anyone is watching and knows him, I think one of the first videos of his that went viral is one that he says how he's tired of existing. And this is not that video, it's a different one, but it's one that I agree with as well. So let's see. Let's see what he has to say about that. Life is all about pretending. Yes, it is. Let's go.
I don't know if you ever noticed this. I'm pretty sure a lot of you can relate to this, but when you really think about it in life, to have success in some way, you have to pretend in life. You have to pretend in at least some capacity to succeed in wherever you are, whether it's in school, at a job, anything. You have to pretend, because if you don't pretend, people are going to look down on you, and you're going to have to pretend that everything's okay even when it's not. I mean, think about it. For example, like at school, okay, you have a group of friends, and you basically have to pretend that everything's okay, because if you act sad, if you act depressed, you're going to be treated differently. You have to be like in a certain good mood all the time. You have to really put up a front in some way, and it's not that bad in school. It mostly depends on the type of group that you hang out with, but I know some groups out there that will literally like kind of treat a person differently just because they're sad or they're depressed in some way. This is
Yes, exactly. I don't like to just summarize myself like that, because there are so many sides to my personality. But at school, for many different reasons, I used to be one of the sad ones most of the time. Not always, but definitely most of the time. And that pressure really exists. And I am the type of person that always sucked at pretending. So since a very young age, until this very day, I struggle with social relations, because it is exactly like you're saying. You have to pretend. You have to pretend to be in a good mood all the time. You have to be this laid back, unbothered person all the time for others to respect you, because if you're not, you're going to be seen as weak. You're going to be targeted. And that really sucks, especially if you're like me, if you're a person that struggles with adapting to that.
more of an issue that occurs at work, like especially corporate jobs. I think this is very specific to corporate jobs, but even regular jobs, you have to at least pretend in some way. Like, for example, even already at the interview, you're going to get called for this interview, and this, the person in charge of hiring you is going to be asking you all of these really superficial questions, and you're going to have to like pretend that you're like really passionate about this job and say that you've done all the research about the company, and all about different facts about the company, that you have you have to do all this research, all this work to pretend that you're passionate about where you're like. When someone looks for a job, they're going to be applying to so many different places, and every hiring manager is going to expect the same like type of responses from like each job. Like everywhere, they're always going to expect you to be that way, to be super.
Yeah, so basically, I think what he's trying to say here is that, or at least the way that I see it, is that all companies are looking for the same type of person, right? If you are authentic, then you don't fit. You have to be good at pretending. You have to be good at hiding. You have to be good at groupthink. You have to be good at blending into groups. That's what it is about, and you have to be good at hiding anything that is perceived as weak by any type of group, so that you're able to integrate with these people. That's basically it. And this leads to to this to people being basically all the same, which is something that I've been noticing for many years in my jobs. Everybody acts the same, says the same things, and if you dare to act differently, oh my goodness, you're going to be targeted. So yeah, it's just really funny, and it's it's heartbreaking in a way. To me, it's not really surprising, and this thing connects to so many others. But yeah, let's see what else it has to say about it.
Passionate, to be super in on the job. Like, it's just, you have to do so much work just to work, just to live, because that's basically the real reason why we want to work. If somebody says, if a hiring manager says, why do you want to work here, you can't just say like because I need money. That's not, they're not going to accept you based on that. You have to pretend, you have to put up a front, you have to make it seem like you're passionate about this job, even though you're probably not, and you're only in it for the money, which is in most cases the truth for everybody. We all just want to work for money, basically, to survive, to live, because that's the way the world runs. That's how.
In a way, I can understand where hiring managers are coming from, because they need to find a candidate that sets themselves apart, right? So you cannot be authentic. However, if it's always like that, then again, as I said, everybody is going to be acting the same, and then like everybody's lying, and I just think as this sort of thing kind of spreads and scales, it's no wonder why so many people are becoming like this shell of themselves, are becoming so narcissistic and so nasty and so not trusting anybody, and wanting to be the one that is smarter than the other, wanting to be the one that is able to lie and pretend to the other, so that you are not the one that's weak and that's being fooled around with. I don't think I don't think I could be like that clear with what I mean, but I hope it's understandable. And and as I said, I understand where these managers are coming from. However, I think there could be other ways to filter out good candidates from the bad. When it comes to that, anyway, there's so much more I could speak about that, but again, let's keep watching.
How it works in this world, unfortunately, but we just gotta fucking deal with it. And then once you finally get that job, there's more pretending that's gonna happen. You're gonna have to make it seem like you're in the best mood ever. You can't just make it seem like you look depressed or sad, because once you look depressed or you look sad, especially at a corporate job, which is more where I'm talking about here, because at another regular job, it's not that big of a deal. It might be a problem, a small problem, but not as big as if you were to act sad or depressed at a corporate job. And then when you start working there, you have to act super fake as well. You have to do all these good morning, hey, how are you, good, and you? Yeah, I'm good, yeah, thanks. It's all, you have to pretend, all these fake positive vibes. I don't believe a single second that everybody is good all the time. You have, it makes me sick that, I was surrounded by all these people that were just like, good morning, hello, good, and you, how are you? It's just so fucking annoying. I couldn't stand, people like pretending, being so fake. Like I was just, in my head, I was just like, cut the bullshit, guys. It's just, why is this normalized where we have to be like, hello, how are you? I'm fine, you. I feel like every time I witness an interaction like that, like, or somebody says it to me, you know, I feel like we're just all fucking robots. You know, we're like programmed to say, hi, good morning, how are you? Good, and you? Like, it's just so fake. It's so shallow, and you know, you're not expected to say, you can't expect some, if you say that, you know, if somebody says, how are you? And you say, oh, I'm okay, you know, or I'm not feeling well. It's because you can't even fucking say that, because people expect you to say, I'm good, and you know, there is no other option for these types of people. Like, you have to say that you are good, or otherwise, like, it's going to be awkward for them. You know, they won't know what to say, because you have to pretend that everything's fine. There was also this situation.
Basically, you have to follow the script. If you don't follow the script, you're going to be seen as weird or weak or, I don't know, any of those things, you know, clueless. And it gets tiring, you know. I think this kind of thing exists because, you know, if you're in a corporate job, the environment is very competitive. And like the more authentic you are, the more people have in theory would have like to use, and in practice as well, to use against you. So that's why all of that exists. And also in our society, again, like people that are good at pretending, that are good at putting up faces and, you know, saying that, being good at manipulating people basically are the ones that usually go up the corporate ladder, right? Because it's all about like who lies the best, that's able to manipulate others the best so that they can get whatever is it that they're after, a promotion, a higher salary, whatever. And you guys all know this, right? So there's so much backstabbing and like all the fakeness. And I mean, it's just like all of that is a consequence of the system that we live in. And if you are not born being good at that, being good at being a narcissist, basically, at some point your humanity is going to start screaming. And just like, I really identify with the videos from this guy because I'm like that. I just can't stand all of the pretending. Currently, in my job, I have this coworker that's super narcissistic, and she's disgusting. You know, everything that she does is manipulative. I can see through it, but I cannot do much about it because I need my job. She constantly manipulates things so that I do more work than her. She pretends to be a really good, nice, and perfect person, like to our boss, while when my boss is not around, she's very mean to me. And she does that not to me, but like to other people as well. But she does it in a very subtle way, you know. So she's a very let's say, how can I put it into words? She's just like a subtle, I don't know if you can call it a covert narcissistic. I don't remember like the definition of these things anymore. But basically just type of person that feels entitled to hurting others to get what they want. And like this kind of people just have zero empathy, zero work ethics, and they just don't fucking care. And these are usually the types of people that get rewarded in the system. And again, as I said, if you are different from that, you're going to, just like this guy, just like me, you feel it in your soul, like this shit is not for me, but people just keep going because we all need jobs, we all have bills to pay.
Where, you know, I never said to anybody, you know, I tried to keep to myself as much as possible when it comes to work. And I guess my previous boss noticed that I didn't look happy or something, and he calls me to his office, even though I always say that I'm doing fine, I'm doing good. You know, he probably noticed my facial expressions, I guess. And what happened was I was stupid enough to trust him with my feelings, even though we shouldn't really say how we actually feel to anybody at work, because Like you guessed it, my boss actually used it against me. Yep, I explained to him that I wasn't feeling well, all that stuff, um, about work, about this job, and and then right after that conversation, like I felt like I was targeted. I was targeted in every way. I was being micromanaged for a short period after that, and then lots of like incidents where I could tell my boss was trying to find ways to make me want to leave. Like I could tell that he didn't want me there because I told him about my feelings, about how I felt, about how I truly felt. And yeah, and I didn't get laid off after that because of that. I was actually transferred to a different department, which fixed things.
That's a good thing that he was able to get transferred because, yeah, I would say that usually people would just be pushed into, quitting or being fired. Um, but yeah, it's not that like I've heard of here and there workplaces that are different, but this is the norm, right? And I think everybody knows that. I myself have tried to speak to managers in the past. One of them completely lashed out on me because it was a person that was basically like a billionaire prototype. So she felt she had the right to exploit people, and even though I was working like 14 hours a day, she didn't believe it. She was just delusional. She could think she thought that she could double my work and then I would be able to do it. But I couldn't. I was already working 14 hours a day. And other times I have tried as well, but uh, usually these managers won't really, if you do that, they are going to see you as a problem and they're going to try to get rid of you. And that's how the system works. And works. Sorry, guys. And that's why it's so fucked up. Like, there's no way out. It is really tiring for people like us that can't or that struggle to pretend, right? I'm not saying that people that have a hard time, pretending and playing these social games are perfect. That's not what I mean. What I mean is just people are different. People are different. But when you go to work, when you have to be an adult, it looks like there is only one type of personality that is able to succeed, which is basically narcissists and sociopaths. Just look at the recent case with the CEO and the HR person that got caught cheating, right? That's the that's the work ethics that is rewarded these days, right? Look at how high up in the corporate ladder these people were. That's a perfect representation of of what how you have to be to succeed, right? So yeah, let's keep watching.
In a way, but in that short period of time, right after I told him about my feelings, about how I felt and everything, about my mood, yeah, he just completely used it against me. And, he even asked another employee to micromanage me for that short period of time. And that was such fucking bullshit. I hated it. And I honestly cannot believe that fucking thing happened. It's just, you can't even be your true self in these types of situations. You have to really pretend in life. It's crazy. Through certain friend groups, through job interviews, to actually working, you have to put up a front in order to succeed. And I even start thinking to myself, like, people who are like in really high positions at a company, I am pretty sure they must have to bullshit their way through so much just to get to the top. And I could never fucking do that. My brain is just...
Yeah, exactly. I think the boomers were the last generation that could be rewarded for being hard workers and for being honest people. But nowadays, I just don't think that exists anymore at all, or it's really rare.
telling me that I just can't fucking do that for just for simply of survival. You know, the fact that we have to pretend in life for survival is fucking crazy. It's fucking wild. You know, I don't agree with the idea of that. I don't think it's supposed to be normalized, even though it is. But we have to fucking pretend, unfortunately, in some capacity, in every way. Because nobody wants to hear about your feelings. Nobody wants to see your true self. People only want to hear what they want to hear, and it's that you are in a good mood and that you are fine, so we can keep the world running, so you can keep working, so you can keep making money, and
Basically, so you can keep making whoever are the company's owners or shareholders rich. And I know, guys, everybody knows this. And I know that everybody knows that that's how it is and that you should not be looking for friends at work. But I would say that the point here is that most of us will spend at least a third of our lives at work pretending and doing that pretend game. And, you know, and as it is happening to me, and as it usually happens to people like me that struggle with this kind of things, like at some point, you become like more and more depressed and more worn out and more depleted over the years, because this kind of thing just exhausts you because it's not you. You know, if you're not that kind of person easily, if you cannot adapt to that, well. So I think that's pretty much the point. It's like, I think that the world would benefit from workplaces for different types of people and different types of personalities, instead of expecting and forcing everybody to be this one type of person that acts in one specific way, and basically force everybody to be a backstabber, and the best backstabber is the one that's going to succeed, you know. Yeah, so let's keep watching.
that's the only way to success, and I feel. And for example, if somebody is unemployed and they're like at a group gathering, and it's not even about unemployed. Sometimes it's just because the person works at a part-time job or whatever, or works in something that's not deemed as successful. You could say the truth. More power to the people who just say the truth. And some people will feel insecure about where they work, and they're gonna have to pretend to people like family members that ask, or anybody who, because everybody that you meet is eventually gonna say, what do you do? What do you do for work? Like, that's literally the first question that people say when you meet someone. It could be even, like I said, family member or a new person, a new friend, whatever. They'll always say, what do you do for work? What do you study in? What college do you go to? It's always these stupid ass fucking questions that don't fucking matter. And some people will feel insecure, like I said, and they'll just lie. They'll straight up lie. And just make up a fake story because they're insecure. And some people will even pretend, even on their CV, for example, just to get a job. They have to lie on their CV to get jobs. And it's so fucking bullshit that we have to fake it in life just to make it. The saying, some people, I despise people who say the saying, like, fake it till you make it. These are the type of people that just support the system, that support this pretending in life just to get a job, get into whatever. It's so fucking stupid. Oh, and another thing about pretending, a lot of people will also pretend when it comes to dating and relationships. Relationships, not really, but I think mostly when it comes to dating, people will put up a front, when it comes to dating, and people will try to build this personality about them. The term like Riz or something like that, and you're gonna have to like be that type of person. I guess you have to be charismatic. You have to be charming in a way, just to get the attention of someone. You know, because that's the only way apparently to get the attention of another person is if you.
I agree with that as well. So basically, in dating, there is this um, there's this whole list of things that you have to be to potentialize your odds of getting a partner, or even meeting someone, if you're, for example, on Tinder. And it's just, all of that is just so tiring, man. It's just so tiring. um Again, it's like one or two personality types that you have to force yourself to be, else nobody's going to be interested in you. um and yeah, it's so just fucking tiring.
Or like that, if you have riz, if you are charming, you can't just be your true self. Of course, you have to pretend in some way. You have to say all these fake things that are not really you, just to get the attention of another person. And then once the relation starts to set in, you're not really that person after all. You start to show your true self. But what I hate is more when you start dating, you have to be this certain person, and it's so fucking stupid. Like,
Yeah, I agree. So basically, in my case, so let's say, for example, when I'm alone, I'm usually very reserved. I don't talk much. Sometimes I talk more, others I talk less. You guys know what it is like. But when you're dating, everybody's doing that, so they are more talkative than they usually would be. Normally more funnier than they try to be funnier than they usually are. And it try to be more interesting than you usually are, and whatever that means for each person. And I think long term, or even mid-term, this is a recipe for failure, because if you're not a narcissistic person that is a master of putting up a front, you're going to exhaust yourself, you're going to be tired. And even narcissists at some point will have their masks fall, right? And that's with all this awareness about abuse and these types of themes, that's what's been happening so often with relationships, right? People are getting better at noticing signs of abuse, and they're leaving relationships with narcissistic people and abusive people and lying people, whatever, and and so forth, so on and so forth. Yeah, so I don't really see a way out in the current, the way that things are currently. It's just a shame that authenticity has become a sign of weakness. Unless you already are successful, then a lot of people with second intentions are going to go after you, and oh my god, you're so authentic, oh my god, I love your content. But like at work and in small groups of friends, if you dare to be different, nobody's going to admire you. And that's how things are. It's all about looks, it's all about interests, and yeah, nothing is authentic and honest anymore.
why do we have to be another person when you first meet someone? It's just like I said earlier, when you first meet someone, they'll say is like, what school do you go to, where do you work, all that stuff, all that superficial bullshit. You have to pretend because that's normal. That's the expected way to interact with a new person. You can't just be your true self. You can't be your true self at a job. You can't be your true self when you start dating someone. You can't be your true self with certain friend groups. You have to pretend, because that's the only way you can succeed. You can succeed in all.
Exactly. And when it comes to friend groups, my goodness, how many times have I heard or read about people that pretended to like something that they didn't, just so that they are accepted in the group? People that pretended to like certain music styles, people who pretended to like and to have certain hobbies. It's so effed up. Man, this should it's such a waste of life. That's how I feel about all of this pretending and all of this stuff and all of this topic. It's such a waste of life to spend my life having to do that, especially at work, because I spend so much time there. And in my case, I also sometimes feel my personality changing towards becoming something like that, and I despise it. To me, that's not me, but it's what's happening because I have to survive, and it's so fucked up.
Those aspects, if you pretend well, if you can be a good actor, if you can fake it till you make it. And those are things that I struggle to do. I can't, I went through all those experiences and I'm able to pretend. I just don't like the fact that we have to pretend. Every time I pretend that I'm okay, even when I'm not inside, it kills me. It kills me, the idea that I have to hide how I truly feel or hide my true self. Or for example, at a job where somebody makes,
every time that I have the same feeling, right? And every time that I have it, the thing that I think to myself is that it feels like my blood is rotting, when you're doing that. And it's just so fucked up because most of the times, as I said, especially at work, you just don't have a fucking choice.
an offensive joke, or an offensive or racist joke like I talked about before, you have to pretend that you think it's funny. You have to laugh, because if you don't laugh, people are gonna look at you like you're weird. Because majority are gonna be laughing. Because if you don't laugh with them, then you're not fitting into the group. And this is something I struggled with within my last job. I was told by my boss that I wasn't fitting in to the group. I couldn't even be able to, just come to work, do my job, eat lunch by myself, and then continue work and then go home. That was not an option for him. Even though that's what a job is supposed to be. A job is supposed to be.
Oh boy. So basically, yeah, for the managers, and that's like force. I think every manager's job is to pretend that they have like this team and that everybody's united and everybody gets along well. And if there's a person that is always, that doesn't hang out with the group as often, that seems to be sad or depressed, and it looks bad for them, So you're basically forced to pretend that you like the group and to pretend that you get along with the people in the group, just so that some manager doesn't look bad, and so that you don't suffer the consequences of that as well, because that's what's going to happen if that happens. Oh God, it's such a network, such a web of things, of interconnected things that you have to do just to keep the peace. Whose peace, right? It's just anyway, it's just fucked up how the system works. So yeah, let's keep watching.
You come to work and then you go home. You come to work, you do your job well, and then you come home. That's what I was hired for. But according to my previous boss, I had to fit in. I had to be part of the group, and all that bullshit. I had to be part of company culture, even if I didn't want to. It's so fucking stupid how, like, for example, there was one time where everybody was, they were serving free, they were giving everybody free pizza. They were serving us free pizza. Everybody was wondering, well, not everybody, but a few people were wondering, why the heck am I not eating pizza? And I just didn't feel like it. I just didn't want to. I had my own lunch, so it's my choice. I can do whatever the fuck I want. And because of all those things, I ended up just eating in my office after that. I didn't eat with the group anymore. I didn't feel comfortable being around these people, these fake ass people. But yeah, I like a lot of the times I have to pretend in some capacity, like for example the whole good morning, hello, how are you, and all that bullshit. But there were also other aspects where I wasn't afraid of just standing my ground and resisting to pretend, to fit in just for the sake of it, just for survival, because apparently that's an extra requirement at work. You have to pretend to fit in and stuff. So yeah, I guess you have to fake it till you make it. That's the only option. I think it's bullshit, but that's how it is. Did you ever?
So yeah, guys, that was the video that, let me just go back so we have
I
the
don't know
right
if you ever
title.
noticed this.
Yeah. So that's the video I wanted to react to. I think it's pretty straightforward, right? And yeah, just the last thing I wanted to say is, I guess I'll just repeat something that I said before, is that I really wish there was a different, that there was more diversity. I know that this word would trigger so much, could trigger like so much mean comments there. But in terms of jobs allowing more personality types to coexist instead of requiring everybody to be the same. But of course, that's just wishful thinking. We all know how the system works. And yeah, I hope that all of us that don't fit in, that are that struggle to have this certain and very specific qualities and personality traits, I hope that all of us find ways to succeed somehow. And that's it. If somebody was able to watch until here, thank you very much, and see you next time.